mess. Emergency teams in the US state of Texas are trying to find out why a hot air balloon crashed, killing all 16 people on board. Eyewitnesses say it may have hit power lines before bursting into flames, but that's still to be confirmed. The balloon came down in a field near Lockhart, which is around 50 kilometres south of the city of Austin. Robert Hall reports.
From clear skies above the Texas plains, the horror had unfolded in seconds. Such was the intensity of the explosion and fire which engulfed the balloon basket that there was little left at the crash scene. Two of the balloon's gas cylinders were still visible on the blackened pasture. Emergency services had been called by a witness who heard the initial explosion.
I stepped out on the porch. I heard one pop before I stepped out the door. And then I heard another pop, and I'm looking around to see who's shooting because it sounded like a gun going off. And then I looked off over there, and the next thing I knew, you saw a big fireball go up. And it's just praying that whoever was there got away from the thing in time.
The balloon is thought to have been owned by the Heart of Texas Balloon Company. Last week, Chief Pilot Skip Nichols posted this video of one of the flights, which operates 7 days a week.
Best panoramic shot ever.
The 16 who died are believed to have been on another organised tour. Although it came down beneath power lines, it's unclear whether the balloon had struck the lines or whether it had developed a problem at a higher altitude. Just one of the questions to be answered by air accident investigators.
It's much like a crime scene. You only get one chance at it, so we want to make sure we do everything correctly. And thanks to the cooperation of all these agencies standing next to me and behind me, we've been able to start on the right foot with that.
Police are still trying to establish the identities of those who died. This is the worst ballooning tragedy yet recorded, and it will bring fresh calls to tighten regulations covering more than 100 US operators. Robert Hall, BBC News.
Well, earlier I asked Bill Spreadbury, who is a commercial hot air balloon pilot, whether it was unusual for a balloon to be carrying so many people.
So in ballooning, we have sports balloons, such as I fly now in competition, which is a pilot and one or two at best. And then you have commercial balloons that are flying passengers for reward, and they'll take many. I've flown balloons that take up to close to 18 passengers.
And I understand that you're pretty familiar with the terrain there. Is there anything about it that may have made it more dangerous?
Well, the particular terrain that this balloon had, this incredible accident, I've only flown a couple of times in many distance, but no, pretty flat, open terrain, very nice to fly in, very pretty, a nice, enjoyable balloon flight.
I mean, it is such an incredible tragedy. I would imagine lots of questions are being asked about safety.
Well, there's a lot of conversation, of course, with news media going on, but there's telephone calls between other pilots, and we're sharing our grief at this moment. We're totally in shock, surprised, and puzzled, and we certainly are looking forward to identifying the cause of this problem in a very big way.
So tell me, how are people, you mentioned the grief within the people that you've spoken to, but the wider industry, what's the reaction been?
Well, they certainly don't want to have this experience. And in addition to the minor sidebar would be that it's affecting their own ballooning interests, but there's a loss of life, and no different than you and I or anybody else that's civil, that would be a major impact. The fact it's also an activity that we'd love to get involved with all the time, a negative like that really hurts. And that's the case with ballooning all over not only the country, but I've seen notices of sympathy from New Zealand and other countries coming in as well.